Quantum entanglement and human connection. Exploring the invisible threads that bind us. Introduction, bridging physics and emotion. Humanity has long sought to understand the invisible forces that connect us, love, empathy, and intuition, phenomena that defy easy explanation. In this chapter, we turn to an unlikely source of insight, quantum physics. The enigmatic principle of quantum entanglement, where particles remain inseparably linked across vast distances, offers a poetic metaphor for the bonds that unite us emotionally. While not a literal scientific claim, this analogy invites us to reimagine human relationships through the lens of quantum interconnectedness. We begin by grounding readers in the science of entanglement, then explore its metaphorical resonance with emotional bonds. Case studies, twin telepathy, empathetic couples, and HeartMath Institute's heart coherence research provide empirical and anecdotal evidence of human connection's mysterious nature. Finally, a guided partner exercise invites readers to cultivate their own empathetic entanglement, bridging theory and practice. This chapter does not argue that human emotions operate via quantum mechanics. Instead, it uses entanglement as a framework to explore how love and empathy might transcend physicality, much like particles defy classical logic. By merging physics with philosophy, we aim to deepen appreciation for the unseen ties that bind us. Quantum entanglement, a primer. Historical context and key discoveries. In 1935, Albert Einstein, Boris Podolsky, and Nathan Rosen published the EPR paradox, challenging quantum mechanics' completeness by highlighting entanglement's bizarre implications. They argued that if two particles were entangled, measuring one would instantaneously determine the state of the other, even light years apart, violating relativity's speed limit. Einstein famously dismissed this spooky action at a distance as evidence of quantum theory's flaws. Decades later, physicist John Bell disproved Einstein's skepticism. His 1964 Bell's theorem mathematically demonstrated not be explained by hidden variables or classical physics. Experiments by Alain Aspect in the 1980s confirmed this, showing entangled photons sharing states faster than light could travel between them. Today, entanglement underpins quantum computing and cryptography, proving its scientific validity. How entanglement works. Entanglement occurs when particles, e.g., electrons, photons, interact in ways that their quantum states become interdependent. For example, if two photons are entangled in polarization, measuring one as vertical ensures the other is horizontal, regardless of distance. This connection is non-local. It transcends space and time, and persists until decoherence, interaction with the environment, breaks the link. Philosophical implications. Entanglement challenges our classical worldview, suggesting the universe is fundamentally interconnected. As physicist David Bohm proposed, reality may be a holoflux, an unbroken whole where separateness is an illusion. This radical perspective mirrors spiritual and philosophical traditions that emphasize oneness, from Buddhism to indigenous cosmologies. The metaphor, emotional bonds as entanglement. Non-locality in love and empathy. Like entangled particles, humans often exhibit non-local emotional correlations. A mother waking abruptly moments before her child cries overseas. Lifelong friends describing feeling each other's grief or joy across continents. Partners finishing each other's sentences, their thoughts seemingly synchronized. These experiences, while anecdotal, mirror entanglement's defiance of spatial logic. They suggest that emotional bonds create a shared field transcending physical separation. Inseparability and shared identity. Entangled particles lose their individuality, existing as a single system. Similarly, deep emotional bonds, romantic love, twin connections, or parent-child relationships often dissolve the ego's boundaries. Philosopher Martin Buber's concept of the I-thou relationship reflects this, where connection becomes a sacred unity rather than a transaction between separate selves. The role of intention and observation. In quantum physics, observation collapses a particle's wave function into a defined state. Metaphorically, Human attention may similarly shape emotional bonds. For example, mindfulness practices that focus on gratitude or compassion appear to strengthen relational ties, as seen in HeartMath's research, explored later. Critiques and boundaries of the metaphor. Skeptics caution against overextending scientific concepts into subjective realms. Emotional bonds are mediated by biology, e.g., mirror neurons, oxytocin, and psychology, not quantum fields. Yet the metaphor's value lies not in literalism but in its power to inspire awe and curiosity about human connections' profundity. Case Study 1, Twin Telepathy, Mystery or Myth? Anecdotal evidence. Twins, particularly monozygotic, identical, pairs, report uncanny parallels. One twin breaking an arm, the other feeling phantom pain. Simultaneous calls or texts after long periods of silence. Shared dreams or premonitions. In The Power of Twins, psychologist Guy Lyon Playfair documents hundreds of such cases. One striking example involves twins separated at birth who reunited at age 35, discovering they'd both named their sons James and married women named Linda. Scientific investigations. The University of Minnesota's Minnesota Twin Family Study, while focused on genetics, occasionally records anomalous synchronicities. In a 1997 experiment, twins placed in isolated rooms showed correlated brainwave patterns when one was exposed to stimuli, e.g., flashing lights. Critics argue these results stem from genetic similarity or statistical chance, but the metaphor of entanglement offers an alternative narrative. The quantum lens. If twins share entangled states, their connection might bypass classical communication channels. While unproven, this framing validates the depth of their bond, much like entanglement validates particles' interdependence. Case Study 2, Empathetic Couples and Physiological Synchrony. The Science of Emotional Contagion. A 2010 study in psychophysiology monitored couples during conflict resolution. Partners' heart rates, sweating, and breathing synchronized within minutes, particularly when expressing vulnerability. Lead author Dr. Jonathan Helm noted, their bodies literally resonated, like two instruments tuning to the same frequency. Love is a biological force. Research by neuroscientist Stephanie Cacioppo reveals that romantic love activates brain regions linked to reward, ventral tegmental area, and empathy, anterior insula. Over time, couples develop neural coupling, where brain activity aligns during shared tasks. This mirrors entanglement's correlation, albeit through biochemical pathways. Implications for long-distance relationships. A 2019 study in communication research found that couples in long-distance relationships often report heightened intuitive connection, such as sensing their partner's mood shifts. While attributable to psychological attunement, the entanglement metaphor reframes this as emotional non-locality. HeartMath Institute, The Science of Heart Coherence. What is heart coherence? Heart coherence describes a state where heart rhythms align into smooth, wave-like patterns, driven by positive emotions like gratitude or compassion. Measured via electrocardiogram, ECG, coherence correlates with reduced stress, improved cognition, and emotional resilience. The collective heart field. HeartMath's groundbreaking 2014 study placed 40 participants in a room, monitoring their heart rhythms. When guided to focus on shared feelings of care, their heartbeats synchronized within 15 minutes. This field effect suggests emotional states can entrain physiological rhythms in others, creating a tangible form of human entanglement. Applications in conflict resolution. In corporate workshops, HeartMath techniques have de-escalated tensions by guiding adversaries to cultivate coherence. A 2018 trial with healthcare teams showed a 30% reduction in workplace conflict after 6 weeks of coherence training. Exercise, cultivating empathetic resonance. Purpose, to practice intentional emotional alignment, embodying the entanglement metaphor. Steps. Synchronized breathing, 5 minutes sit facing a partner. Close eyes and match breath rhythms. Inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6. Eye contact, 3 minutes open eyes, maintaining a soft gaze. Reflect on a shared positive memory. Emotional mirroring, 10 minutes partner A shares a current emotion, e.g., joy, anxiety. Partner B listens deeply, then reflects, I sense you feel, without judgment. Swap roles. Group debrief, 5 minutes discuss sensations of connection. Did heartbeats align? Did emotions feel shared? Outcome. Participants often report heightened empathy and a visceral sense of unity, illustrating how intentionality can amplify emotional bonds. Conclusion. The poetry of interconnectedness. Quantum entanglement teaches us that the universe is far stranger, and more wondrous, than we imagine. While human emotions operate within classical biology, the metaphor of entanglement invites us to view love and empathy as cosmic forces, echoing the universe's fundamental unity. The case studies and exercises in this chapter do not prove that we are quantum beings. Instead, they remind us that our connections, mysterious, profound, and often inexplicable, are as vital to the human experience as the physical laws governing stars and atoms. By embracing this metaphor, we honor the invisible threads that bind us, fostering a deeper reverence for the miracle of relationship. The observer effect in relationships. Concept: how attention shapes relational dynamics. The observer effect, a principle rooted in quantum physics, suggests that the mere act of observation can influence the behavior of the observed. When applied to relationships, this concept reveals that the way we perceive and attend to others significantly impacts our interactions and relational dynamics. Attention is an active force. It shapes our experiences and those of the people around us. When we focus on the strengths of a partner, friend, or colleague, we are more likely to elicit positive responses from them. Conversely, when we fixate on their shortcomings, those flaws seem to magnify. This phenomenon suggests that relationships are not static. They are fluid, molded by our thoughts, expectations, and the way we choose to observe them. By becoming conscious of how our perceptions affect our relationships, we can begin to influence them in more intentional and constructive ways. The key lies in understanding the psychological mechanisms at play and employing mindful communication techniques that reinforce positive connections. Psychology, self-fulfilling prophecies and confirmation bias. 2 core psychological concepts underpin the observer effect in relationships: self-fulfilling prophecies and confirmation bias. Self-fulfilling prophecies. A self-fulfilling prophecy occurs when an expectation about a person leads to behaviors that cause the expectation to come true. For example, if a teacher believes a student is highly capable, they may provide more encouragement and support, leading the student to perform better. Similarly, in relationships, if one partner expects the other to be attentive and loving, they may treat them with warmth, thereby eliciting the very behavior they anticipate. In contrast, if someone believes their friend is distant and untrustworthy, they might withdraw emotionally, causing their friend to respond with further detachment, thereby reinforcing the belief. This cycle highlights how our expectations shape reality in profound ways. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias refers to the tendency to seek out and interpret information in a way that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs. In relationships, this can be both beneficial and detrimental. If we believe our partner is caring, we are more likely to notice and remember moments that confirm this belief, reinforcing a positive view of the relationship. However, if we assume they are inconsiderate, we will unconsciously filter interactions to support this perspective, even disregarding evidence to the contrary. Awareness of confirmation bias allows us to question our assumptions and cultivate a more balanced, open-minded perspective in our relationships. Application: mindful communication techniques. To counteract negative self-fulfilling prophecies and confirmation bias, mindful communication techniques can be employed to foster healthier and more fulfilling relationships. Here are some strategies. 1. Active listening. Active listening involves fully engaging with the speaker, making eye contact, and providing verbal and nonverbal feedback. This helps the other person feel heard and valued, reinforcing positive relational dynamics. 2. Reframing perceptions. When a negative thought about someone arises, consciously attempt to view the situation from a different angle. Instead of thinking, "They always ignore me," consider, "Maybe they are overwhelmed with their own stress today." 3. Expressing gratitude. Regularly acknowledging and verbalizing appreciation for the other person strengthens positive expectations and deepens connection. Statements like, "I really appreciate how supportive you've been," can reinforce desired behaviors. 4. Clarifying intentions. Miscommunications often arise from assumptions. Asking clarifying questions such as, "Did you mean it this way?" instead of assuming the worst helps prevent unnecessary conflicts. 5. Practicing non-reactive responses. Instead of reacting impulsively to perceived slights, pause and reflect before responding. This mindfulness allows for more thoughtful and constructive interactions. 6. Using positive reinforcement. People are more likely to repeat behaviors that are acknowledged and rewarded. Complimenting a friend or partner for listening attentively increases the likelihood that they will continue to do so. Exercise, journaling observations to track perception shifts. A powerful way to apply the observer effect in relationships is through journaling. Keeping a record of perceptions, interactions, and changes in relational dynamics over time can reveal patterns and shifts in perspective. Journaling prompts. Observe initial thoughts. At the start of the week, write down any assumptions or expectations you have about a key relationship. Track interactions. Each day, note interactions that confirm or challenge your initial assumptions. Identify shifts. By the end of the week, reflect on whether your perceptions have changed and how they influenced your behavior. Experiment with focus. For 1 week, intentionally focus on the positive aspects of someone in your life. Observe how your perception and their behavior shift in response. Reflect on communication. Write about instances where mindful communication helped resolve a misunderstanding or strengthen a connection. By consistently engaging in this practice, individuals can become more conscious of their observer effect in relationships, gradually fostering healthier, more fulfilling interactions. Conclusion. The observer effect teaches us that relationships are not simply reactive, they are co-created through attention and perception. By understanding the roles of self-fulfilling prophecies and confirmation bias, and by implementing mindful communication techniques, we can shift our relational dynamics in more positive and enriching directions. With continued awareness and practice, we can become more intentional observers, shaping our relationships into more harmonious, supportive, and fulfilling experiences. Get your copy now on Amazon and start living quantum.